All right, so you should, okay, so on this page, I'm going to point to the capillary. So on your page, you should also point to the capillary. So that's this long tube right here, okay? And between that are some muscle cells and fibers. So where are the red blood cells? So hopefully you see these little individual disc-looking things, and that is our red blood cells. So you should be following along on your paper with me. And then surrounding this capillary, like I said, you have these muscle cells. They're called fibers. They're really these skeletal muscle cells, and they're just long cells that surround the capillary. And then how do you get oxygen and food into the blood? So where do you think we're starting? So we said it would be coming here from the heart, from the lungs to the digestive system and the heart, right? Because the oxygen is going to come from the respiratory system, the lungs, to the blood, and then obviously the food's going to come through the digestive system. Remember that small intestine into the blood. And here in this arrow right here is where the food would come from. So what is our start of the equation? What is our reactants or our start of the equation? So what did we say we were starting with over here? Which two tiles is coming to the cells? So hopefully you've figured out it's the glucose or the food. And then also we said we're breathing in oxygen, so they're coming in over here, coming into the cell. Okay, so on your sheet, I can't write it here, but when we talk about the chemical equation, the reactants, write them in here, glucose and oxygen. So at the top of your paper, the start of our chemical equation is glucose and plus oxygen. So they're coming in down here, and move your tiles down here. All right, and then what is the result of the equation? So the result of it is all these other things, these other three tiles. It's the H2O, the energy, and the CO2. So don't just leave the tiles there, write those in. I'm going to move them up here just so you can see it, but you're going to want to write that in. So you're going to start off with this glucose and oxygen, and in the end, you're actually going to end up with some water, some carbon dioxide, and what you really want, which is the energy. All right, so let's continue with our model. I'm going to show you how to model this some more. And hopefully you'll be able to follow along with your tiles. I want you to move your tiles as I move my tiles. So, and you're going to write as I ask you to write. But anyway, so again, what were the two things that came in? Oxygen, glucose. Let's bring them down. And here they are. They're coming in. And what ends up happening is they get delivered into a cell. So we're just going to use, for an example, the one where the arrow is. So the oxygen, move them along, is going to come in, up, and it's going to go through the blood into a cell, like a muscle cell, and go on in. And guess what the food's going to do? The glucose is going to do the same thing. So on this arrow, I definitely can't write there, but I want you to write oxygen and glucose on that arrow. I can't write it, but you write it. Then move your tiles down. Okay, so now you've got those delivered, right? They're delivered in there, they're in the cell, that's fabulous. But these kind of go away, so I'm going to put them back up in my equation. Okay, and what happens is there's this chemical reaction that happens while this comes in here. And in the end, you get some water, you get some carbon dioxide, and you get what you really want, which is the energy out of it. So there's like this chemical reaction that starts, that ends with it. And then what leaves, so the energy will stay in there to be used by the cell to help it grow and do its daily activities. And then the carbon dioxide and the water are waste. They don't need that water and waste, so it goes out. So on the arrow going out, I want you to write carbon dioxide and water. Okay, so they go out, and guess what they do? They keep going out, 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 out of the cell. It goes back out of the cell, out of the bloodstream. And if you read here, this water and this carbon dioxide goes to the excretory system. So they go out the digestive system, which would be mostly the water. And then the lungs would get rid of the carbon dioxide. So you have the excretory system, you would urinate, and so that would get rid of the water. And then you would have the respiratory system getting rid of the carbon dioxide. So, and the energy would kind of stay in the cell to be used. So, if you need to do that a couple times, play with the tiles. You can play this video again and try that. But that's basically what you're doing. In the end, what I want you to do is tape the symbols under the equation, wherever you wrote everything. I'm not sure where exactly you wrote everything. But make sure you match up the symbols under what you wrote. Tape them in here. And so once you feel comfortable with this, now you've got a model of how aerobic cellular respiration happens. All right, let's discuss this model real quick just to make sure you understand. Hopefully you've tried the tiles a couple times to make sure you see how they exchange out. It's really just a chemical equation like you did last year in your 6th grade science class. But let's just review again. Ask these questions. You can pause the video as you need. What are the waste products of aerobic cellular respiration? What are the waste things? What are the things that the cells don't really need that leave? Well, hopefully you see that it was the things that left, again, were the carbon dioxide and the water. They really just want the energy. How do our bodies get rid of the carbon dioxide? Well, as you see over here, they breathe it out, so it goes through that respiratory system. How does the carbon dioxide get to the lungs? Well, in order to get to the lungs to be breathed out, it goes through the blood supply. So the blood carries it to the lungs. How does your body get rid of extra water? Well, when you have extra water, what do? You go through the excretory system, through your bladder, and you pee. You actually urinate. Or sometimes you can get rid of it with your breath, actually. You can have water vapor in your breath. And then what happens to the energy? It didn't get taken out. Well, it actually stays in the cell to be used for growth or for daily activities. So the energy doesn't just go away. It doesn't disappear. It's used for growth and repair and different needs. So, just to kind of summarize, carbon dioxide, gas, and excess water are exchanged through the cellular membrane of each muscle cell. Remember, the cell membrane surrounds the cell and lets things inside and out. And they go into the capillary. So there's a cell membrane that opens up and lets the carbon dioxide and excess water exchange into the blood cell. The blood carries away the waste gas, including water vapor, to the, if you remember, back out the lungs. It's that I always pronounce this wrong, the alveoli in the lungs, which is then exhaled back into the atmosphere. The blood carries the water through the excretory system. The excretory system, including the kidneys and liver, filter out the waste from the products from the blood and then removes them from the body. So, if you need to do this a couple more times just to make sure you got it, you can always play the video or get some more extra tiles and play through it.